we're able to track all of these challenges, giving Spider Tanks players things to do, challenges to beat, like different tiered challenges. We're also going to have like some hidden tiers, since I'll give just some future stuff we're going to have, just like events, hidden tiers, hidden challenges, stuff like that throughout this. That'll just make it fun. Give us something to do while we play. We need some progression systems in Spider Tanks, and need some dopamine to go to make us actually have fun while we're playing. Give us something to do. So next is the workshop. We got the brain, Mr. Scuzzy, for this one. But the workshop is going to evolve. Like, this is one of the tools within the workshop. So throughout, like, as we continue to play Spider Tanks and develop more tools, we'll keep those adding into the workshop. So we'll have a singular place for all of those. Next is the MEL. We don't have that fully implemented yet, but that's essentially going to be a really fun way for the high-skilled players to play against each other. This is going to be the Premier League for the pros. So this is what gives MAF pros a utility in our ecosystem. Essentially, let me backtrack a little bit. Essentially, the whole ecosystem is ran on cred, right? So cred is going to be earned in the ecosystem through playing the games that we love, playing the games that are in that we're involved in, and then interacting and inputting value into our community, right? So it's going to be a delicate balance between the two, and it'll be ever changing. You know, keeping everybody on their toes, making it fun, changing up the meta of things, and adding in events and challenges and manipulating that so it gives us something to do throughout. Cred is going to be a database token, so we're going to keep it. We are going to be creating tokenomics underneath it, or let's say economics. I know some people don't like tokenomics, but we're creating economics underneath it to eventually lead into it becoming a blockchain in the future, or a cryptocurrency in the future. But for now, we'll keep it database, and then the NFTs that we have in the ecosystem will turn into NFTs at a later date as well. But what this will do for the MEL is power the MEL, give us something to do, or give the high skilled players something to do, and they can stake cred on the matches when they play each other. And so this will provide a sink within the ecosystem for cred, but also give the best of the best players a way to capitalize on their skill as well. So the MAF Madness leaderboard is for the grinders and for casual play and having fun in the ecosystem, and the MEL is for the top of the top skill play. Then we take that all out of the store, and this will have the vault. The store will come back, but for now we have the vault where all the safes are, and the safes are where you buy our NFTs. And so you earn cred in the ecosystem through playing and having fun, and then you get to come and buy our NFTs. So this is what we have so far. We'll be adding more. Ooh, I don't have any more cred. Oh, it got reset on me. I'm out of cred. Oh, thank you. I got my plug for cred. But yes, so look, so right now these are the different slots that we have, and we'll be adding more series in the future. But then you take all those over, and now you have the HQ, and the HQ is going to be your hub. This is where this will upgrade. This will be your player profile. This is going to be where you get to grow and connect your gameplay to your account. and these will be really important. They'll give bonuses to cred throughout. They'll give bonuses in events. They'll be interoperable through our ecosystem, through our games that we have. So we're really excited about those. And they're creating a whole story underneath all of this. So there is a bigger picture. There's lore and a story underneath all of this, and it'll all connect and make sense as we go. So yeah, you'll be able to go through, play the games that you like. For now, it's just this screen has all of the games in it, but for now we'll have spider tanks, and you'll be able to get rewarded for your gameplay. And that is what we have now. Going live tomorrow, we'll have more updates for everybody tomorrow when the official release happens at 7:05 p.m. EST. So 3 hours earlier from now, tomorrow, is when the site will go live, and alpha access or alpha release will actually happen. Cred will actually start accruing, and your NFTs will matter, and you'll be able to do all of that. So it's actually happening. Y'all get to hear it first. Y'all get to, you're our early supporters, so it matters for y'all, and y'all can have fun in it. Get ahead. We'll be playing too, having fun, and hopefully picking up spider tanks, giving the spider tanks community something else to do, and providing a little bit of a progression system for everybody.
And the Downstar committee.
Oh yeah.
This is pretty cool. So, Tim, this is kind of like not a battle pass, but kind of a battle pass, right? And even incorporating community involvement as well, outside of just core gameplay. But obviously, your gameplay is going to unlock new challenges for you to complete in the game. I mean, this is pretty cool. I think it's going to add some depth and tease that season pass feel. Like this is going to be awesome.
Right. So it's players are going to have a consistent rewards that they can get. The NFTs do act kind of like a battle pass. So yeah, no, I agree. I mean, down the road, you got it.
Yeah, sorry. There's a lot of members that right now their first thing they do when they start for the day is they hop on Discord, start chatting with people. They end their day by saying goodnight to everybody on Discord, and now they got something to fill the in between times in too.
Right. Exactly. So, no, I'm really happy. I think it's gonna be fun. We're gonna try to release on a consistent basis and change up the challenges, throw some events, throw some random stuff at everybody, have some cool prizes for people, just provide value to the players, make the games that we love and the games that we're invested in more fun, and get these players in the games. Like we all kind of own assets in these games, and I mean they're kind of the worlds that we've bought into, the things that bring us joy. So it's kind of our duty to take that initiative and put that value in there. So hopefully this can do it. But yeah, look, I'm gonna hop off. I'm excited to get this out tomorrow. We'll pump it, get the community involved, get people playing spider tanks on it, tracking it, having some community events soon, and all that. And I think I'm excited to hear what the round table is all about. See what these guys have to say. So
yeah,
let's all hop into the stage. I think Deadly, you want to activate that bot? It'll throw everybody into the stage. Or do we need to do that manually?
No, let's go.
everyone's here. Definitely, that was some great sorcery. I just ended up here, so that's great.
I'm not sure what happened. I just
I am trying to get everyone up on stage now, and then we can go ahead and get started with this roundtable event. I know we got a lot to talk about, so definitely want to make sure to make the most of our time. That way everyone can have a chance to speak, and we can really get into these topics and dive into them and hear everyone out.
I'm really excited to do this. Once we get everybody up here, let's see.
Kaizen. Thanks for bearing with us, guys. We had to do the reveal of the MAF App in the voice channel because we're not able to do video on stages. So that was the scheduling issue. So appreciate you guys bearing with us there as we just get this thing rolling. But again, just to like kind of frame this event and what the roundtable is I know we're kind of playing on the mafioso like lore and theme of having the roundtable and meeting with the mafia members at the roundtable is just kind of like the setting feel, but we want this to be respectful public dialogue and a place where people can like actually share their thoughts and what they're thinking, and we can have this understanding that people are also going to offer you that mutual respect to hear you out as well, even if you disagree with them. So like we're probably going to hear people that we disagree with. You know, we may disagree and think other things differently, and that's totally fine. Like the goal of this is to build everyone up, and the only way we can, you know, grow and build each other up is by hearing people out and letting them, you know, have that space to talk. So the initial plans of this roundtable were to talk about new player onboarding. You know, that's a pressing issue in Spider Tanks, and it's something that we definitely like want to talk about and play our role as a community. And how do we do this? Like, is it making content? Is it specific talking about gameplay issues and discussing that as a community? And, you know, what can we do to play our part? But there's been some big announcements in the Discord that we've all seen. So we definitely want to kind of out of relevancy also talk about those things. And I think it does closely relate to new player onboarding. So that's kind of like the agenda for tonight. Since we have a smaller group, we can definitely like spend some more time and get into more conversation. So this doesn't have to be super structured either. Like I definitely want the intention of the event to like be the number one priority, which is hear everyone out ultimately so that we can have a better chance to you know, understand this topic better and empower everyone else to also like get the information they need to develop an informed opinion. So that's just kind of how we're starting this event. But I just want to introduce our panel. These are guys that are Fluso crew members in the Mafia. So most of you guys know this, but the Fluso crew is just our verified, you know, group of content creators in Spider Tanks that are also in the Mafia. Fluso is translated to stream, and most of these guys do some streaming of some kind or making content like a streamer. So it's just a play on words for streamers. But these are people that, you know, that are doing the work. You know, we talk about creating content for new player onboarding. Like a lot of these guys are putting out content and trying to make more consumable Spider Tanks things for people to consume on the internet, you know, get that dopamine fix. So definitely show them some love when you see their stuff on social media. But first we got Jay Soto. He's a man, he's been pumping out content like a madman for Spider Tanks. So Jay Soto is going to have some great opinions. He was voted number one to have the hottest take of the group tonight. So we'll see if he comes close to that. General Kaizen just brings just a surgical interpretation of events. I think anyone who was at the last roundtable can agree that Kaizen had just very objective views and 100% is going to add to this conversation. Even Wave is head or co-part of STES Spider Tanks Esports Show, so they're going to be covering a lot of the esports play that is going to be developing in Spider Tanks. and you definitely want to keep an eye on him. Meditate as well as joining him in Fire Tank Esports Show, and also as one of the best pilots we have in the game right now. So we definitely have a group of guys that are going to give us some great insight. But it doesn't stop there. We want you in the audience. We're going to invite you on stage at the end of each talking point, and we want this to be an opportunity for you to respond to the things that these guys said, and to have full respect to, like, if it's a disagreement, that you can totally voice that and we can talk about it in a respectful way, open dialogue. We may, like, some things may be funny, we may roll with it, but ultimately this is going to be a respectful place where everyone can say their piece. So be sure to stay around. Don't get too far away from your raise hand button as we get into these topics, because we want you to come on stage so we can keep this conversation rolling, and also, inform ourselves with your points of view as well. So with that being said, one of the original talking points that we had for tonight, the very first one, was this idea of 30 seconds to change your abilities before we get into a game. So, how does that relate to the original topic of new player onboarding? I think there's some clear implications that this could have on just a player and their gameplay and how they interact with the game on an average game, with rotating game modes, different teammates, solo queuing, or if you're piloting, for just give you that edge for a game mode. But I'm not going to get into this too much. So I'm going to hand this off to Jay Soto. Feel free to introduce yourself, man, and go ahead and just kind of feel free. You have the floor. I'm going to give you a little bit to kind of talk about this and how it relates to new player onboarding and just your thoughts on this. So Soto, you got it, man.
Yo, what's up, guys? Yeah, well, I actually have a strong opinion about this. I mean, I think it's a must, right? Especially when you played solos. I've seen a lot of, almost everyone here plays Spider Tank. So, we all know Tom, right? When we play versus Tommy, he's playing with the healer, with the Nomad. It's unkillable, man. So if we had the 30 seconds to change abilities, right? We can just all get stun grenades and kill them. So I think we need to add that, to add a new mechanic to it. I play a lot of RP, right? So most of you hate it. So imagine you see me in queue, right? You're like, oh yeah, we gotta run shield so we can outplay Jay Soto. I think it helps everyone, especially new people, so they can try different things. So I think having that would be really interesting, and it should add another mechanic to the game. So in my opinion, I think it's the best way to go.
Okay, I totally hear you. And as just a quick counter, do you think the spirit of the game is just picking the right abilities, and does picking your own ability before the game take a part of the strategy of just really needing to make the best ability, or is the net positive playing with more abilities than you currently do? Because I know right now I really don't take off shield. I don't use airstrike. Sometimes I'll use vortex, but I always keep shield on because I don't want to run into you with reactive plating.
Yeah, well, I think it helps, especially the pros, because they kind of use every single ability that exists in the game. So I think that would benefit the most out of it. And like you say, for me, even if I had that, I'll probably run the same abilities over and over, because that's the only thing that I know how to play. But yeah, it should definitely make the game a lot more competitive, in my opinion. Especially when you start running teams, that's when it gets really, really interesting. Having the, so you can change abilities. Yeah, since you cannot change tanks, right? Because most people don't own every single tank that is out there. At least changing abilities, it gives you the RNG between each game. And I don't know. I think I really like that idea.
Yeah, that's a compelling use case right there. Talking about most people don't have the ability to change tanks, which is true. So it's that is your level of gamifying your strategy. Depending if you have play, you're kind of limited to some means compared to a light body. You're gonna have to play that. So that is a good point, and I'll definitely remember that anytime I'm thinking about this. Even Wave, you're up next, man. Do you want to go ahead and kind of speak to this issue and give us something to ponder and think about?
Yeah, I mean, changing your abilities going into a match is something that's been talked about in the game for a long time. We've always kind of wanted that ability, or at least I want to at least test it out and like see what it would be like. Because how interesting would it be to like load into a match and all of a sudden you can see what abilities they have, and then you have like 30 seconds to decide, and that becomes like a game in itself. And you have certain metas that pop up, and I think it could be a way to maybe break those metas, experiment around with different ones. In terms of onboarding new players, I think like as far as like it would allow them to test out more abilities, but I think for that they need like new players need like a sort of like a sandbox mode. It's almost there with the survival mode with the bots and stuff, but I wish that new players had like a sandbox mode where they can go in and test all the abilities, all the weapons, all the tanks against like real bots in real conditions, sort of like a mix between the garage that you have in the shooting range and survival mode. That's what I think is needed for like onboarding as far as like abilities.
That's a really good idea, and I think the survival definitely offers things that obviously Shooty Booms doesn't in the shooting range. But it's interesting. I know Icepickle, one of our members, referenced some kind of in-game tutorial, and that's kind of what I'm getting when you talk about a sandbox or some kind of just closed setting where they're able to explore a little bit more with these abilities than other tanks, but in an interactive way that survival offers. Is that kind of what you're saying?
We have shooting range that has unlimited garage, but you have boring bots in there and not a whole lot to do. And then you have survival, which has the cool bots and like waves and stuff and the big map and the practice fighting and stuff. But the garage and that one's limited. So it would be cool if you could just like combine those two, and so like the ultimate sandbox mode, even where you could like try different things, like set different parameters for weapons and stuff, like just like a mode to just play around with stuff. That's how I think you get good at the game, is just by experimenting around, playing around in the lab in the shooting range.
Yeah, and it definitely seems that, just tying this back to kind of the original question, that the same sentiment of like playing around, trying around more things out, exploring inside the game, that adding the ability to change your abilities for the first 30 seconds before the game would kind of like open and encourage that a little bit more, even in game. And just speaking to motor learning, in game and in competition is whenever you make your largest jump in skill acquisition. Like when me and Tim are training, you can practice all you want, but the true training, the bouts of training that give the most impact on your actual skill level come in the game when you're competing and something's on the line, which I find interesting. I find that compelling as far as like developing Spider Tanks pilots. So definitely appreciate those points, Even Wave. I think that's a good idea, and I just find it interesting that you said that this is something that the community has been talking about for a while. So I know we would all love to see this make its way into the game. Meditated, I know you're going to have some thoughts on this. What do you think? Would you like the ability to change your abilities 30 seconds before the game, or do you think it takes away from the spirit of the game that more traditionally, we don't need to change it? Like, are you a purist, or do you think this could be a good thing for it?
Oh, I think it would be a great thing, honestly. It sucks when you load into like a match and you see like a Brambler or a healer or something like that. And with the Brambler, you really need like some sort of mobility. And right now, everyone's just running reactive plating because that's just the best ability in the game. But if you get into a match with like a Brambler or something like that, you could use teleport and you could make the quick switch. That would be amazing.
That's definitely a good point. You're thinking levels ahead of where I'm at. So I need to consider my abilities based on that kind of stuff. But having the option to change my abilities would I guess give me a way to kind of like think more in that mindset and like start to counter and be more strategic with the way I use my abilities. Versus now, it's pretty defensive. If I see reactive plating, I just throw on shield. If I need health, I just throw repair zone. It's pretty simple. I'm a simple guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't like it if the enemy team could see my abilities before the game starts, though. I think you should only be able to see your team's abilities.
That's a good nuance, and I wish I would have thought about that sooner because, yeah, definitely seeing their abilities would cause you to counter them. It's like that scene in The Princess Bride when he's trying to guess which cup's poisoned. Like, just leads to a whole facade of decisions that you're not really sure what to do with. But that's a good point, Meditated. Kaizen, I know you're gonna view this situation just excellently. So can you bring us home on this one before we bring in audience members to talk about this?
Yo, sup everyone, General Kaizen here, the cannon man, better duck down if you've seen me in a match, yeah. So yeah, I'm pro 30 seconds change of the abilities, because everyone who plays Spider Tanks or even watch it knows that it comes so many variables that impact the game. And that being said, one ability can change the outcome of the complete game. Just like Metatated said, you see Brambler and you have like reactive plating, it can be limited. Maybe the teleport is better or relay drone is better choice, and then we can split it also in casual and esports. Because if you take casual play and you have pilots and people who captains, pilots, when the new players join, they don't care, in my opinion. But the OGs would like, to have that option to choose some abilities that can, turn the match in their favor. For esports, I think that would add so much depth and complexity, which could probably make it even more interesting. So that would be my take just on that.
That's a good point. So you're saying you would like to see a distinction between competitive play, it being a feature, like maybe in private modes, versus in like public ranked matches, more casual play. What are you thinking there? Like, can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it would impact both of the sides, For esports, yeah, it would add more depth, more complexity. It would make it more fun, in my opinion. In casual play, for the people who because we are speaking also on onboarding the new players. New players, I think they wouldn't even like consider too much to change their abilities. They find too, they will play it. But if an OG is piloting tank, and you get some random, some random tank, but you have the fixed abilities. Maybe you have, I don't know, let's say, reactive plating and repair zone, and you have some other tank that maybe would better be with speed boost and some other abilities. So just to adapt your abilities to the tank that you play, because not all the abilities will suit the tank that you receive from the random piloting, because we don't have yet the targeted piloting where you can choose your tank. So it puts you just in disadvantage to the people who can, who choose their tanks and adapt the abilities to their tanks.
And that's kind of like, I wanted to pick this topic because I wasn't sure, I thought there may be some purists, and maybe there are in the audience, but it seems like it's kind of like a resounding, like, this is what we want in the community. And just kind of the logic that I had on how this relates to onboarding new users and newcomers coming into the game is that, before I would purchase a tank, I would want the pilot, to try the game out, right? That's probably the first thing that many people that are new coming into the game might do, because it's free. You can do it for free, and you have a chance to earn, and you get exposed to a variety of tanks. And piloting is kind of flying in the dark, just because you don't know what tank you're going to get. So your abilities really impact you, like we were talking about earlier. With not having a tank to switch to, then your abilities are that much more important. So that's just kind of how I was tracking this, and how it relates to onboarding new players is that it might inspire more people to make use of the piloting program, and just offer them a little bit more freedom to explore, like we talked about again, and developing a more robust skill set as well. But go ahead, and if anyone wants to raise their hand. Okay, we got Deadly is already raising his hand. Let's go ahead and get him up here.
Wait, I just want to say, Meditated had to go. He didn't want to interrupt, but he had to leave, and he said bye.
Yes, Meditated had to dip out early for some family events, so we will miss him. But we were glad he was here for that first round. Deadly, welcome to the stage, brother.
Thank you, thank you.
The floor is yours.
I think I'm a bit of a purist in the esports side. Like, actually, I think if you put it in just casual play, just everybody, like, whenever you're just queuing up with randoms, like, it's beautiful there. But I could see it being like outlawed in esports, because that is like let's just say a year from now, we're touching the skill ceiling of what's possible in spider tanks, and everybody's just able to perfectly counter each other. We all see each other's tanks when we load in the game. We all pick the perfect abilities, and it's kind of just a stalemate. And I could see it really kind of I can see it getting banned in esports long term. I think it's just another layer of complex. It's 6 more things that people have to consider when they're loading into a lobby. And my thoughts on from a pilot's perspective, I think it's necessary. It's almost necessary. Like, you load into, like, I played in the pilot program a little bit, and one match I've got a rocket artillery, and then the next I've got flamethrower. So I'm running speed boost or teleport and like heal zone, and it's really the same thing. Like, you're just stuck with the same abilities no matter what. But, like, especially as a pilot, when you don't know what tank you're gonna have, it would be so nice to be able to pick your abilities once you know what tank you got.
Well, Deadly, that was definitely enough for us to talk over. So I'm going to open this up to our panel. I'm also going to boot you off the stage. Deadly, I'm sorry about that, but we're going to get someone else up here. I think Thor's got his hand raised. But yeah, guys, Jay Soto, General, Even Wave, what do you guys think about that? That is interesting. Potentially creating a stalemate in upper level esports, being able to counter. Is that a net positive or a net negative? Does it change the game too much, or does it change the game in a way that adds depth and complexity? I guess it depends on your frame of view. And so, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a net positive. Adding more complexity to the game, since it's like esports. Like, that's how you get like the best of the best. I mean, like, even in League of Legends, like in esports, like, you have the drafting system, right? So you can see like what champions are picking, and then also so they can start picking their abilities. But they do have the chance to change abilities, and it does make the game more complex. But I think it's a good thing, like, especially since we don't have access to all the tanks. I think that's like Meditator was saying, like, what happens when you have Brambler? Like, I was playing the other day, right? And I was playing versus 2 Bramblers and 1 Lava. I mean, it was just impossible. But maybe if I had the opportunity to change to teleport, maybe I can teleport and try to kill one of the Bramblers and make the game more interesting. So I don't know. I think it's a positive to add abilities, like even in ranking system, like even in casual, like in pilot, it's a must in every scenario, in my opinion.
I really like that Deadly brought that up. I think it's a really good point in even the broader sense that just whenever we're talking about making changes like this, we haven't even experienced the esports side yet. Like every time we're ever talking about making changes, we're just talking about like all the times that we've been playing casually and like playing with our friends and stuff like that. That's the only spider tanks we've really ever known. We haven't really gotten to see that hardcore competitive esports side yet. And so like I think Deadly bringing that up also just kind of brings up that broader point that we need to consider how any kind of changes like this could affect esports, which really should, you know, ideally should be kind of like a sterile competitive environment. Like it should be kept that way, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. It's definitely challenging me, and I hadn't considered that. It's definitely challenging me to hold a new perspective the way I view about this, because like clearly, whenever I load into Spark things, it would be nice to change my abilities. However, if I was competing and we're talking about real esports with big competitions, big tournaments on the line with some of the best players, does it change it too much and compromise the integrity of the sport? I like that you use the word sterile. And there's like the spirit of sport, and the spirit of sport is the game needs to be fair. If it's not fair, then it loses its competitiveness, right? So that is a really good point. Thor, I'm gonna bring you up. Feel free to start speaking whenever you make your way onto stage.
Yeah, good to hear you guys. I'll give my 2 cents on the changing the abilities. I only play pilot, and I've been playing a lot of it recently. In fact, I was a little bit late, missed some of what Timbo was saying because I was in the middle of a game. But you know, priorities. And so I think that changing the abilities for in the case of piloting is a must, because that was for the last probably 3 weeks that I was playing it and trying to get better and starting to get a hang of it. The most frustrating part, because now I'm at the point where I can see the tank body and head that I've got, and know whether the skills that I picked are going to be good or absolute crap. My last game, I had a flamethrower and a slow body, and teleporting would have made it a much more strategically competitive game, but that is not one of the skills I had, and I was just a sitting duck doing nothing with a flamethrower, turning around like an idiot. And that's kind of just made that game a worthless game, and I knew it was, and the fun level goes way down. If I had just been able to change like one ability could change that whole game to be, you know, work with a body that you have no prior knowledge of. I think that's something that would be a great change. In regards to onboarding new people and sort of the learning curve that exists, even if you're a gamer, if you've played other games similar to Spider Tanks or in the battle arena type genre, you know, there is a matter of learning the different weapons and the different body types and what combinations work best. And for content creators, if you're looking for good ideas for content, useful content that will be looked at again and again, is the type of tutorial, I guess you'd call it, but like, here are the top 5 combinations for, you know, if you've got a flamethrower, or top 5 combinations for a cannon layout, and kind of give the basic strategies of how to do it. The game that I played the most previous to going Web3 was Overwatch, and there were probably 2 or 3 different channels that I could consistently go to if I wanted to learn a specific character, and in this case a specific body type or combination, and learn the, you know, the core strategy that you want to start out with, to get people from the very beginner trying anything and just kind of sitting around as a noob dying, and getting to that place where, all right, if I'm if I've got the health artillery, then my focus is on my guys, and I'm leading them as they're going in a direction, and you know, this is how we attack a team battle, or this is how we do King of the Hill. And these are some core strategies that are going to get you to the point where we're actually a helpful member
when you're randomly selected into a new group of 3. That's the only other thing that is a detraction, that if you get put in a game with 2 other people that have no idea what they're doing, they're not playing the game the way that it's supposed to be played, as in King of the Hill versus deathmatch, or pushing the chicken. Like, there's basic ways that you can teach people how to play it, and having that resource of content out there, I think is still really minimal, and we need to get more of that content out there for curious people and people that are trying to learn.
Sure. That is great to hear from you, man, and I'm thankful that you got on here and shared those thoughts, because just considering the idea of, let's say, using data points to find the top 5 abilities of the most successful players based on elo for a given weapon body would just be definitive value, like, that you can add to new players instantly, kind of tutorials, blogs, like that would be great to see. And I hadn't thought about that, so I'm really glad that you brought that up. So that is, we're going to move on to our next talking point. We're going to go ahead and transition into now interpreting the new announcement that was posted yesterday in Gala Chat, and we're going to view this from the perspective of new player onboarding. So I know we may have a lot of thoughts. You may have personal opinions about this, and you may still be thinking through it. You still may be undecided. But for as far as this conversation goes, and as our guys on the panel speak, and our people in the audience, as y'all come in and speak as well, I just want to challenge us to consider this from the perspective of analyzing this and how it affects and the implications it places on onboarding new players. So we got the boost and VP earnings, or the rebalancing of VP earnings on tank rarities. We also got a boost to the pilot program, which probably has one of a stronger correlation to onboarding new players, which is great. It's great to market. It's great for new players to get a little bit more of that hope to keep them, moving forward and forging on in the ecosystem. And also the upgrade adjustment, so that is easier for that long run of the lower rarity tanks to make it to 30, or at least earlier on, or however that ends up playing out. So outside of that, I think there's not a whole lot of details here. So there's definitely some room for a lot of people to have, different opinions. Once we get data to support these changes, as was referenced, I think, we're going to start to be able to see a much more coherent picture. I don't think there's just a boogeyman behind the scenes trying to piss everyone off either. So Kaizen, I'll let you open this one up and kind of like lay the groundwork down, because again, I think you're going to have a great viewpoint on this. But again, we're just talking about new player onboarding as it relates, the new information, the new announcement in Discord as it relates to new player onboarding.
So, yeah, for the new players, I think it makes sense. Especially, it motivates them to buy the new tank. If it would be like it was, where the common tanks would struggle to earn, even to upgrade their stuff, the incentive for new players to buy the tank is really low. And most people would then just go piloting. So I think this shift opens the windows for the people to purchase, for the new people, when they try the game, to purchase the tank, and then it gives them also a possibility to how you can say it, to level up, because as I said, it was really hard for those people in lower rarities, common, uncommons, rare, to upgrade their stuff. So in my opinion, it's good decision for the new players. They get plus 80, almost 90% increase in victory points. So I would just close it there and say it was a good decision for them, or it's good for them.
It's good for them, and kind of the logic, I guess, that is putting this in a good for them light would be if the goal, the target, is a mass amount of players coming in, right? And we can assume that the high rarity tanks the mass amount of people aren't all going to buy, higher rarity tanks just because they clearly cost more. Then that means we're catering these tanks to the mass audience that we hope to be coming, which would add a lot more volume into the system and create good things for the economy. And so whenever you say it's good for them, meaning is it good for them, and then I guess is it good for the economy?
I would then expand it and say, it's because Gala Games, they know what they are doing here. If we don't get new people, if we don't get that inflow of new players, it doesn't make sense. The game is not then sustainable, and then all of our NFTs, everything that we put in, time, money, everything goes to waste. So it's also in our, even if it's at the moment maybe a little bit hard for us, it's still for the economy it's good. So I see also that side, and I would agree with you. It's good for the ecosystem, because if the ecosystem doesn't work, then it doesn't make any sense even, for us. So we have the same goal.
Respect. Yeah, there's definitely a relationship between new player onboarding and then just kind of the system continuing to chug along, right? Like we need, it appears we need more people, with incentive to use lower rarity tanks and incentive to make more upgrades. And it seems that this is kind of going that direction, but that's just kind of like me making sense of it all. I could be wrong, and I'm open to be proven wrong. But Jay Soto, I'll give you the floor, and Death Ripsol, I see you raised your hand. We're going to get to you in just a second. Promise I'm going to get you on stage, let you clear the air for us on this one. Jay Soto, go ahead and take the floor for us.
Wait, is this only for new players or like the whole community in general?
Yeah, we're going to, I should have prefaced with this. The next thing we're going to talk about is the news release, more so pertaining to early supporters, we'll say, or people, who viewing it from another light. This specific talking point, we want to view this from new player onboarding, because I think it's important to, view this from two different perspectives, if you will.
Yeah. Well, then I totally agree with Kaisen. I think like increasing the earnings is like the way to go, especially for comments, because they weren't making anything at all. Like I remember when I was playing with It's Kelly, dude. He was like BR2. He had like 2 common ones. Like it would take him like 2 days to be able to buy 1 bolter so he can do an upgrade. Like that's insane. That's just sad. And we used to play like our 20 wins together, right? So we were grinding like 5 hours a day, and he would like be able to buy a bolt like every 2 days, man, with like 10 hours of game played. So that was sad. So I totally agree that we needed that plus 86% on the comments. Is it 86, 88? I can't remember. But
88.57.
88. I mean, but even if you think about it, like it's not that much, right? Like say you're making a 0.005 silk, now you're gonna make 0.01. So it doesn't change that much. It looks like a lot because the percentage is high, but once you realize how much they were making for 20 wins, like it definitely doesn't do that much. But once again, like they changed the thing where it's easier to upgrade early. So I think that's a hook point for like new players, right? Like you come in, you played, and then you can do an upgrade like literally at the next day. Like they're gonna be hooked, man. They're gonna be playing, because that's the feeling that I had at first. Because I played during the test silk, so like I was earning a lot more with my like first tank. So that's what got me into like playing every day. Otherwise, like I probably would have went and explored something else, to be honest.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that story up and referencing our boy It's Kelly, because I know that's like it makes it a little bit more personal. Like grinding multiple days just to get a bolt, that's it doesn't inspire you. It kind of robs you a little bit of that hope when other guys are earning comparatively so much more. So I definitely like understand the sentiment, and I think we all kind of like recognize that as well. What else? What did you mention second? There was something else that I wanted to say. I'm sorry, I just blanked on me.
Was it the fact that they still don't make a lot, even if you double what they were making already?
Yeah, that is interesting. I think it's like reading something on screen is one thing, and then kind of like putting it in the context of, well, what it was before. That is interesting because it looks like when you see it was Kaizen, what was it, 80?
Well, let's say 89%. Yeah.
Yeah, so damn near 90%. Yeah, but when you look at how it was plotted on the logarithmic curve, you start to like see like, oh, that's what that big boost looks like comparatively. That's a good point. So we need to make sure if someone can visualize this data of the previous distribution chart to the current, that'd be really good visual to see, just like based on the total amount of soap distribution. Even wave. I'll go ahead and let you bring some insight to this. I know you're going to have a great perspective on how this new information, just how the implications it brings to new player onboarding. I know this is kind of broad, and it can go a lot of directions as well. So I'm just going to give you the stage real quick. Go for it.
In terms of new player onboarding, I said in the last MAF roundtable discussion that at this point, I kind of care less what ancient holders who have been around for like a long time and are gonna stick around because I kind of care what they have to say less, just because right now at this crucial moment in time I want to hear that new players are like coming into the game and they're enjoying it, they're getting addicted to it. So I said that last time, and so I mean I can't really complain about them making this change. If you go back, you could dig up comments from months ago of me, like whenever they released Play to Earn, saying that I don't know why the earning structure is the way it is. I wish that ancients earned less, and I wish that commons earned more. And it's like, well, here it is. And like my knee-jerk reaction, my initial knee-jerk reaction when I read it was like, dang it, like it was like a negative thing. And then I realized, I was like, no, this is a good thing. Like, I mean, as Gala said, like they're tuning it this way, they're trying it this way. They can always tune it, try it in the other direction back again if it doesn't work. So I'm not worried about it. I do think it's a great thing to do right now. Plus, my whole thing, I'm just waiting until I see any like numbers, like the actual numbers, before I pass any real judgment on it, because I'm kind of curious on some details. I asked Bitbender last night. He I didn't get like an answer. I don't know if it's public knowledge yet, but like with the supercharge, the earnings are decreased by a percentage, but at the same time you can supercharge them and 5x your earnings, which seems to kind of counteract it in the opposite direction. Like how does all that play out? Does it kind of meet in the middle? Like maybe it's not as bad as we thought. One other thing I wanted to mention, I talked to Johnny Gonzo. I was hoping he would be in here to maybe share his perspective. But last night, he is in here. Hopefully, Gonzo.
In here. Let's go.
Yeah, hopefully, I'd like it if he could get up on stage. But he offered like he has really good perspective on it. So, but yeah. Anyway, I'm in favor of it. I mean, my only if you ask the question, is this the right move? In the sense of like, are the numbers right? Like, or is it like the correct move? Like, are the percentages going to be right? I don't know. Do we have that? No. But I think it's at least a step in the right direction, and I think they're just testing stuff out. And if it works, they'll keep it. If it doesn't work, they'll do something else.
Yeah, I like your take. I appreciate the walking us through. Like even expressing that you had an initial knee-jerk reaction. I think that's a good thing to model for people, that it's okay to have a strong opinion initially, and then I like where you ended up, where you landed. And it made me consider this idea. I feel like it was a big talking point on Twitter, and a few months ago, maybe a little bit further, but this idea of like play to earn being dead. And I'm kind of out on this whole discussion because I think it's just semantics. Really, like we're just arguing about what we're going to call this space, and no one really knows what to call it yet. And then a group of people said play to earn's dead, so now we came up with a new term. But the core idea that we had qualms with and griping about was this idea of free money, right? Just like farming and printing out money and it not being sustainable, and how people were going to be upset in Spider Tanks whenever we had to like blend this in with reality. Well, that's not how the world works. It's just not sustainable for everyone to be coming out and just be making like free money essentially. So we're accustomed to this idea that like, well, there's going to be give and takes, right? Like this is the real world. It's got to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, someone's losing, or it's not sustainable, right? If everyone's just taking more slices of the pie, you got no pie. But extrapolating that conversation further from play to earn being dead and just taking the framework of that conversation to now this, like, is this just another realization that it's like, oh yeah, like if we want this space to flourish, this is kind of the direction we're going to need to go. Are the numbers right? I don't know, but is the direction and the sentiment of this move good? And I don't want to speak too much. I want to get Death Rips all up here because I know he's been speaking about this. So I'm going to go ahead and get him up here, and then we're going to get to you, both of you, Deadly and Gonzo. Definitely want to hear what you have to say, Gonzo, regarding your experience. But Ripsaw, you are being transported to the stage.
Yo,
Floor is yours.
boys.
What's good?
I just wanted to come in and give a big thanks to Timbo Slice, man. The write-up that he did for the change was one of the most insightful and well thought out things. I'm sure you guys have read it, but I'll just paraphrase it. Basically, he was talking about how, he was expecting changes like season pass, esports, like fixes, like all these different things that could help with, the actual game itself, instead of, another tokenomics fix. And I kind of mirror that. Like, we haven't heard from Game Media in like a month. And at this point, like, I'm just worried that, like the bugs in the games are becoming overwhelming. Like, healers can heal themselves now. Brambler's still OP. It's less noticeable now that it's not teams, but it's still ridiculous. And I'm just, yesterday I was talking to Bitbender, and I was like, bro, like, where's Game Media? And he said he talked to him yesterday, which is cool, but we haven't heard from them in a long time. And I feel like, to be real and to be frank, like, this change is going to fix absolutely nothing. The game itself is in a bad state, and just pumping earnings in a broken game where you just have to randomly queue in and you can't control like your loadout or your tanks once you see your composition isn't gonna fix it. I like hear Chair Bandit like talking about how like you're not gonna be able to exploit the system because we're gonna have hundreds of thousands of players, and I'm like, bro, there's no way this game is gonna be that big unless we can at least get a the system or teams enabled in a playable way at this point. It's just the it's like a band-aid on like a severed limb at this point. Where's Game Media? Like, what are they doing? What are they working on? Like, maybe for sustainability it'll be cool, but the problem isn't the tokenomics. You know what I mean? Like, all they've really done, in my opinion, at this point, is to create like a carrot on a stick for like this broken system. If anybody's ever played Battle Right was a 3v3 MOBA just like this. It's more comparable to Spider Tanks than any other game by miles. And the thing is the game is so high skill ceiling that eventually it died. And the competitiveness is the one of the biggest hurdles for this game reaching mass adoption. And if they don't have more game mechanics in the game in order to at least make it more playable, either for casual players or hardcore players, it's just gonna flounder. Because right now, as a hardcore player, can't play on a team, you can't draft once you see the compilation, you can't change your skills once the game starts. Like, why can't we just change the skills in mid-game? Like, why do we have to stay locked in with the same skill the whole game? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you die, okay, change your skills. Eventually, you should be able to change your tank mid-game. How sick would that be? You know what I mean? Like Overwatch or something like that. Like, we're prone with such a rudimentary model at this point. And I wouldn't be angry about it, or I wouldn't be like frustrated. I would be totally understanding if we had a discourse with the devs, but we haven't heard from them since Christmas. They're just fucking gone. Like, so like, how are we supposed to be like, oh yeah, it's fine, we're gonna work through this, okay, there's things coming, when literally we have no fucking idea if they're even working on the project anymore.
Yeah. That's a solid, dude. I appreciate you, sharing. Obviously, you're passionate about this game, right? And you wanted to go to continue on. And I think about this kind of like, the government's a terrible example because, a lot of people have different opinions about this, but there's checks and balances, right? Gala has their part to do, game media has their part to do. But what's interesting, and I think what highlights what I'm seeing this theme, is that consistently the player base is mentioning specific things, and then announcements are made, and they're not really referencing that. And I would love to see more involvement from game media as well. I think if you were to look at this like a political campaign and statements were being made, and this was kind of the general sentiment around whoever's campaigning, right, in public opinion, they would make a statement, right? So I definitely see that. And it is interesting, just kind of like both issues, the announcement that was made was to address specific things that were needed. Like, all of our panel members came through and were like, yes, like this serves a purpose for this cause. But then also, equally, everything you said, you're not the only one that has said those things. I've heard that from many people in our community and just looking through the Gala chat as well. So it's a tough, I don't know how we're going to get out of this, but I would love to see game media just kind of like address the gamers. Like, there's just two populations. We need the new gamers, but then also kind of transitioning to now, how does this apply to us, and what is our opinions of this? He kind of like segued that for us, which is where we're going next. But I'm going to get Deadly on stage. He had his hand raised a second ago and it disappeared, and then we'll get Gonzo on, and then we'll kind of transition this a little bit more into not in the light of newcomers, more to the core folk, the core game. Deadly, welcome back.
Thank you. I think it's clear. I think it's the right decision, and I think it'll play out better long term. We could probably have another roundtable about how they announced this and went about this, but in terms of like new players, I think it's the right decision. I think if you look at Web 2 gaming and you say play to win or pay to win, you've got a whole mob of pitchforks coming down the pipeline, ready to just roast you and just never play your game and tell all their friends not to play your game. And while, like, if you truly understand the way Spider Tanks works, it's not pure pay to win. There's much better examples of pay to win. But if I was a new player, I knew nothing about Spider Tanks. I just stumbled across Gala Games. I found Spider Tanks. I logged in. I play a match, and I see there's a guy who's got a 30 battle rating tank that he's got this crazy skin, and he whoops my ass. And the number that pops up over his head is exponentially bigger than mine. I'm like, my first instinct is gonna be that it's pay to win, and that might deter me, because just immediately. So I don't see this move. This isn't gonna be the thing that just breaks the floodgates open and all the new players are coming in. But I think it was a necessary wall to remove. It was there. We hadn't reached that wall yet, I don't think. But this was not a thing that was ever going to be taken well, I think, by the current community. But it's something that's quietly going to pay dividends long term.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also want to say something about game media. And if anybody, even if I know you played Rocket League, but a game like slow game development, slow updates are not a new thing. Like this is something that happens all over the game industry. It takes, for whatever reason, I've never built a game, I don't know, but for whatever reason, whether it be bureaucracy or, I mean, laziness maybe, whatever's going on, this isn't a new thing. Something's going on, and it's not uncommon. And like I said, Rocket League, because the game has not been updated for 6 years. It's been out at least 6 years now, has not been updated. I'll say that the core gameplay is way more fun, personally, but it hasn't been updated, and the game is flourishing. It's actually getting more popular now, for whatever reason. And there are definitely some like minute things that game media could change, but overall, I think they have a very fun gameplay loop that it works now. I think to put it in perspective, it's been about a year and a half since we started playing this game, and I mean, we've got new skins, we've got new tanks coming out, we've got abilities, new abilities, we got new stuff. I think everything just moves in such slow motion right now because we're invested in this thing. It feels like we're kind of just at their whim a little bit, and we're just stuck in this mindset that they should be doing a million things because we can think of it, and they should be able to do it. Yeah. I just don't think it works that way. But that's my piece.
Appreciate that, Deadly. I know it's tough to. It's easy for us, to like feel like, oh, we've recommended so much and you've done none of it, and you release this new thing, but then also know that like this doesn't come by accident. Like there's a group of people that are hard at work working on this to make it the best they can. So I don't know, it's a lot to consider there. I appreciate you bringing in that perspective. Anyone up here on our speakers, you guys have anything you want to say off of that before I bring on Gonzo?
One thing I just want to say real quick that touches on what Deadly just said and on what Death Ripsaw said is I think one of the reasons that we see we ask like why is there so little transparency? Why won't they say anything? Like how come we haven't seen them? I think one of the reasons, it's not the reason, but it's because there's not really been any kind of regulation in the space in terms of like SEC and like what's an investment and like all that stuff. So I think everybody's kind of like walking on eggshells in terms of like what the lawyers are gonna say, So like, because if it's not even something you have to deal with in Web 2 gaming. Like Rocket League never has to consider if I make this announcement, then the price of Rocket League is gonna go. You know what I mean? It's not even a concept in Web 2 gaming. So I think what it is there's no regulation. Everyone's just being really careful about that right now. But that's just at least what I've always told myself in the back of my head. That's my take on it, at least, of why everyone's so like hush hush about like announcements and stuff so far in Web3 gaming.
Yeah, definitely. Gala is pioneering this. Gala and Game Media, their partnership, working in collaboration to build an esport game with a live living economy and then on the blockchain with digital ownership and like this. Yeah, you're right. This is not like we're not just following a playbook here, or they're not just following a playbook here. They're definitely pioneering this and figuring it out and learning what to work best and clearly making changes as they go. All right, Gonzo, I know we've been looking forward to this. Welcome up to the stage. I think you made it.
Yo, what's up? Are you there?
Yo.
Change your mic. Change your mic on Discord, Gonzo.
Alrighty, Gonzo.
Wait, actually, can I say something about what Deadly said while Gonzo connects?
Yeah.
While he fixes it. I mean, I agree. Like you can have a game that doesn't get any updates, like Rocket League for 6 years, but But I don't know, like, what we're asking is not too much, right? Like, I know, we all want like a battle pass, like, we want like new game modes, new tanks, like all of this. But what we like really want is, I mean, at least for the least, like, is to nerf some weapons, right? Like, how hard would it be to nerf the Brambler? Like, I'm imagining, right? I'm not a coder, I'm not a programmer, I don't know shit. Like, I'm just a regular gamer. But I'm imagining, like, when you open a game and you go to settings, right? You have the volume, you lower that resolution. Like, isn't it that how you're supposed to have every weapon? So you go like to a leveler and be like, oh, the Brambler, like, it slows down the enemy. Like, lower that bar a little bit, right? Like, damage, like, leave it like that. Let's test it out for a week. Like, why does it take like months and months to make that happen? Like, shouldn't that be like on a weekly like patches? Like, imagine like a weekly patch where they just like nerf and or buff like tanks just to experiment. Like, why can that not happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, one thing that, playing professional baseball is the Seattle Mariners are very forward in their player development and the way they want us to approach the game. We do things a lot different than traditional. And I have total respect for them because, they have the burden of proof to bear and they convince me of the plan. Like, I will do what you say you want me to do if it completely goes against, all of tradition of baseball development. But I need to be convinced, right? And I think there's got to be, some way to statistically analyze and isolate each weapon and comparatively match that with similar elos defined weapon strength, right, in the game. And I think, maybe the devs showing us that there's like it's a stats based like damage, right? We believe that this is balanced and isn't warranting a buff. If they came out and they proved it in a way that made sense to me, I would never complain again, right? And I think just having some kind of insight into that communication, I think a lot of people would be really happy for. I know there's got to be a way to do it through statistical analysis, but would be so interesting to see. Gonzo, you got your mic working yet?
You guys
Let's go. Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Man, so many things to say. To carry on the baseball analogy, right? To spider tanks, it's like we want esports, right? We want these big competitive things. That's like trying to build the World Series before we even have like player base. I think right now we need to focus on the player base, and the player base that we want is the play to earn, right? There's millions and millions of people in the third world, right, that have time, will play a game for money. That's how we build our player base, and from there we get all our competitive players, we get our esports, we get our tournaments, we get our big publicity because we have a player base to advertise to, and that's where all the money comes from. So we need to focus on the economy because that's the play to earn. That's when, if we get a play to earn hit, millions of people will come so fucking fast. Seeing how it happened in Axie, once the model is proven to work, right? And the changes, totally agree with them. I think it helps. It's going to make the economy stronger, the player base stronger. People stick around longer. The mechanic of the supercharge is fucking unbelievable because it's all going to, everybody daily, everybody's going to have to buy them. It's going to create a huger, like a bigger silk burn. It's a bit more gambling, but people play 5 games right off the bat and a chance to make their day's wages instead of having to play for 8 hours, Like, it's totally going to be a good burn mechanic for the whole thing. I think it's really great. I agree with you guys, like we're like Web 2, Web 3, like some games never get updates. We're getting updates, but we're so anxious for more. I think Spider Tank Friday needs to continue on. Like every Friday, it needs to be like a bit of discourse between the game team and the community, right? Like Gala, it seems like Gala's kind of choking some of the communication a little bit too because there's so many things happening. Gala's growing in so many different directions, and I think Chair Bandit being the lead Spider Tanks now is going to help a lot. And like it seems like a lot of the stuff we're talking about, the next update, it's going to be addressed. Like he's hinting at a lot of stuff, and I'm sure if he gets up here, like the update that's coming, like a lot of this conversation is like, oh yeah, it's fixed, or it's the next evolution, and it's getting better, So I think everybody's getting really anxious, but the patches, the bug fixes, like if it's noted, it should be addressed right away. I think like self-healing. Oh, like RP is broken. Oh, like the flame bug. Like, what the fuck? Like if it's when they like saw how fast the RP was disabled and then turned back on, like if it's affecting gameplay and you want like fair games and the play to earn, it's got to be a faster feedback loop. I think that's part of the appeal of Web3 is that you get evolution to the game, right? So even if every Friday it's just like, okay, this is what we worked on, we don't have an update. It's like this is coming, not even locking it in, just vague stuff, you know, like all kinds of concept art or just anything to keep everybody involved, to distract from the fact that like, yeah, there's a bug and it's affecting games. But in the meantime, hey, look, this is what we're working on. We're working on the bigger picture, so we don't have, you know, I don't know. It just seems like doesn't feel like game media is there. Yeah, we need, I think, more contact with them for the community to have a better outlook, you know. And I know Chair Bandit, you know, he's gonna do a whole bunch of new stuff, like the way that, like, you know, when I was working with AMP and working with Gala, you can see some of the issues with Gala is that they're like so many things happening. They're going so fast, right? And it's like sometimes they lose focus on, you know, the game. I think it feels like there's not enough dedicated like marketing and development side on Gala. It seems like because they're spread so thin, it feels like, I don't know. It's all about timing too, right? Once the economy's balanced properly a little bit, then you can push the marketing. Then you get a bunch of people. Then more content updates come out with that, right? All at the right time. I don't know. It's super early, pioneering shit. Everybody gets impatient. I'm notorious for that. You know, I get super pissed off a lot of days because it's just the imbalances. But try and step back a little bit, look at the big picture, and I think overall it's good. But man, we need some patch updates or some like, you know, like it's coming on this day or in the next week or in the next month or fuck whatever. Just a bit more feedback loop. Even Wave mentioned that like kind of my situation with the earnings. You know, I took a haircut on all my legendary stuff, like for the 20 wins. But the way it is now, it's totally set up better because I have so many tanks that are like epic, rares, uncommons, and commons. All those other tanks, I play each of those 5. I'm gonna like probably 4 to 5x my VP if I you know, I play exactly the same thing that I do. Play like, you know, 80 to 100 games a day, you know, and 8 to 10 different tank setups, right? Each one of those getting VP. So this will give me an opportunity to earn more VP. But right now I haven't taken Silk out of the economy and I've just used it to get more 30 tanks. So you can see where the battalion ownership thing is starting to work better, but it all hinges on more players because there needs to be more pilots to pilot the tanks, right? So it's all about getting that bigger player base, and that's going to take time. But I can totally see it where it happens like Axie. You know, it's like we interviewed Jeho when there was like 15,000 users, you know, and we were like, well, how long do you think till 1 million, right? And he said, oh, you know, he was saying like 2 years down the line. It happened fucking 6 months later, you know, like from 15,000 to 1 million, like it just hits that spike. So I'm just hoping that the system is set up well enough to handle like the volume when it does happen, because then that's another one. The server issues when it grows like that, we're gonna have so many like the server fuck. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
So much to talk about.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate that. I feel like you covered a lot of ground there, and you know, to start, you referenced focusing on esports now would be like building the World Series before there's a fan base and a necessity for it, right? I think that's an interesting approach. Like, are we putting the cart before the horse kind of situation?
Yeah. Working at AMP, I totally got that insight from AMP because the esports level is so much larger. But you show them spider tanks, who's like, yeah, there's nobody fucking playing. There's like about 1,000 players. Nobody even like wants to. Like, there were so many opportunities for like big exchanges and big companies, like non-endemic opportunities. Like the package sounded amazing. There just wasn't enough players. You know, they looked at the game, they looked at the play to earn, they looked at everything about it. You know, connections to Gala, and it's just like, oh, there's just not enough for us to put any money into it. So, and that's how you get. Once you have all these people playing it, that's when you start with the, you know, sponsored tournaments, and then those become self-sustaining, right? Because there's enough players and there's more advertising money, and it's like, oh, it's a Ponzi, but it's not a Ponzi because advertising is bringing money into the system, right? So, you know, everybody wants to bring more people in to upgrade their tanks, to compete, right? So it's interesting.
I appreciate you getting on and sharing that. It is interesting, and like you said, we are pioneering shit a little bit. So I know it's all subject to change, and we're just kind of just sorting this through as we make our way through it. Let's get the Godfather up here. He's got something to say on this before we kind of transition to less about. I know we've kind of ventured away from new player onboarding, but we're going to open it back up to our panel after Timbo speaks, and then give you guys a final opportunity. We'll try to wrap this up here in the next 15 or 20 minutes or so. But Timbo, floor is yours, my big guy.
I think we have all our answers here, right? It's like Gonzo brought up some good points. Like, okay, we need a little bit more earnings to entice people. You know, it's pretty obvious, right? A little bit better earnings, so it's not as such a large difference. That gets that group of players in. Then you have the Death Ripsaw side, really just showing that we also just want gamers. We have billions of gamers that play for free. They just spend money for free if you give them a good game. So there is an argument to play that, you know, it's a little bit my bias is that we need gameplay. We need some fun shit. Like, I can go on Midjourney right now and just pump out fucking images of NFTs to make season passes, come up with, you know, you use Arachne. I know you got the bureaucratic stuff, but like, come on, we can get out massive amounts of content with how many people we have working on this and attack a massive group of gamers that will do it for free. They just want a fun game. You know, and then on top of that, we fix the issues with you know, FOMO tactics and distrust in the community, like posting on the official PowerPoint of Gala that they just launched that the economy is sustainable. Like, Spider Tanks is the first stable, sustainable economy in Web3, and that is, like, are we serious? Like, we're changing the economy constantly, and we're gonna have that in the market, like an actual lie, a real life lie right in front of everybody, that you haven't proven that this is a sustainable economy. You took millions of dollars from people, and you're actually lying. You know, that, like, it just hurts my feelings a little bit, you know. I get a little bit passionate about it because I put so much fucking time and effort in the game, and you have people lying and they're not telling me the truth. It's just, you know, people aren't showing up to the job, and it's just a little ridiculous. It's disrespectful to the community. So I think you attack, you have all the answers. You fix that, then you fix your moral problem, and then you become a better business. You fix the economy, so it's actually sustainable, which we still need to actually prove that. And then you add all the fun stuff for the game, and then boom, you have a game. You have an actual game that makes billions of dollars, like Fortnite, a real life game. So I think, boom, we have all of our answers.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing kind of like two modes of attack. It's like the changes, they're really good for newcomers, right? Or they entice newcomers to engage in the ecosystem. And then we have that audience that we're trying to attack, but then you also want to maintain your audience that you already have, right? The core game, the core community that's been here the longest, right? And there are clearly changes that would keep those guys around. And then you make a compelling argument that it's just not retention, that until as of now, most gamers are playing for free, for fun, spending money, right? Like, or not for free, but they're playing games and spending money. Like, they're not, with no promise of earning. And so fixing these things to make the game fun based on what the feedback the core community is giving would be not a separate like approach, but just a different way to attack the same goal. It's like they're both trying to do the same thing, which is blow this game up, right? Make it sustainable and successful. It's just speaking to and attracting the audience that we want, which is, as Gonzo said, we have, you know, millions of people that are willing to play this game and not earn, you know, like a crazy substantial amount. That they're willing to play this game, and it needs to be sustainable so that we can attract those large number of people. But then also, like, this game has so much potential because it is so much fun, like we've said. And fixing these core things are also going to address that as well. Do you guys have anything to say up here?
I have one quick thing to say, and I hope Chairband is still listening, because I figured something out. I just had an epiphany while we were sitting here listening to everyone talk. I was thinking about like the whole like game media hasn't been saying anything, and I was like, why is that? Like, where you normally see Spider King, Spider Emperor, you know, everyone's just been like waiting on like that Spider King is typing, you know, like, oh, he's gonna come in here and tell us some stuff, or like confirm we can ask him some real questions now. Okay, I think I figured out the disconnect is Spider King, and like New's gonna have a bunch of stuff coming up, so he hired somebody to deal with the community, interface with the community, which is Hendrickson. But Hendrickson still has a purple name. Everyone still sees him as a Gala moderator because he just has a purple name. So like people are asking these questions like they want game media to answer, and then Hendrickson's answering them with his purple name, and people are like, yeah, whatever. But like he's the person that like game media is kind of designated to like answer questions and kind of interface with the community right now, because I think Spider King and Spider Emperor are like busy like dealing with, you know, like changing stuff, whatever they're doing behind the scenes with, you know, stuff. But I don't know. It's just a little thought I had. I think Hendrickson needs a green game media tag, and he needs to be like seen as the game media representative that he kind of was put there to be.
That's a really good point. I'm glad you realized that. Were you just like looking in the Discord and saw that, or did it just kind of like dawn on you?
It just dawned. Yeah, he like. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that he has been kind of hired by game media to just. And they made an announcement about it, and they, you know, said it. But he's sort of like to help, you know, with the community, sort of be like the community interface for game media, help answer questions and solve people's issues or whatever. And but he has a purple name, and I think he needs a green name, and people would realize, like, oh, that is kind of game media answering us right now.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And it reminds me of when Gonzo was talking Spider Friday. And I know I've seen Hendrickson with Spider Friday and doing that, and I would love to see, you know, Spider Friday is great, and I have a great time joining in those lobbies and playing. So it just brings me back to that point of Gonzo referencing Spider Friday and maybe wanting to see something more than just the gameplay and just playing together, even though we all love that because it's fun. We love playing this game. But just tying those together, yeah, definitely. I could see how the color of the name may be misleading, and when people are saying, where's game media? Where's game media? And Hendrickson's there in the chat all the time. Grindcore, I'm gonna bring you up on stage, give you a chance to speak your mind real quick.
Hey guys,
Welcome.
so I missed a lot of what was said, and I've caught like the last 20 minutes or so, and you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse about lack of content, lack of communication, lack of transparency, and I just want to try to focus on the positives, because, you know, that's I really feel that there's been a lack of a lot of things, and it's better at this point to just try to focus on pushing forward and, you know, what can we do for the ecosystem. And I just want to get your guys' thoughts on like modding. I think leveraging the community is huge for gaming, and you know, we expect a lot out of game media, and it seems like they're a small development team, and I don't know what's realistic, what expectations are realistic for them. So I think a strong push from the community for like some modability towards the game, and just leveraging the community to helping produce content for the game could be huge. And I don't see many people talking about it within the community, and I just think it should be a part of the larger conversation for sure. So what are your guys' thoughts on like maybe modding for exhibition? Because at this point I really think casual play and something more than just the competitive play to earn is needed. I've advocated for co-op survival modes in the past. I don't know how realistic that is actually, like, that expectation is. But
definitely,
sorry.
It's all coming.
Yeah,
all that's coming for sure. They've said it is. I think we're still kind of waiting on like the build, you know, like we're you know, they were gonna call this the open beta, and then everyone was like, no, it's supposed to be the release, and they're like, okay, fine, we'll call it the release, but it's, you know, it's actually like the open beta, and we're waiting on the release build, and hopefully all that stuff is in the release build, because there's all kinds of awesome features like that I've heard them talk about for a while.
Have you heard them talk about modding, like allowing the community
specifically, for like custom matches where you can, you know, customize, you know, how much damage is done, how fast everything is, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like that's what you're talking about, like
for sure. Well, more than just mutators. I would almost like access to the source code, but I know that's not going to happen. So just like a world editor, kind of like a Forge from Halo, and then you can adjust parameters within the Forge, like numbers of players that can join the game, spawns, maps, and then players could create battle royales. They could create co-op survival. They could create, you know, 5 versus 5 or 3 versus 3 versus 3 versus 3. We could do FFAs. We could do all sorts of different things, and it's like a lot of us have seen what they've produced since the start. The 1 versus 1 was really cool, but I really feel like the amount of iteration upon the 1 versus 1 just it was given up on like way too easily. And if the community was allowed to produce content, I'm not saying for play to earn, just for exhibition, it would be it would add so much value to just owning an NFT, because you get to play with it and have fun with it, and not just earn. But at the moment, all we're doing is earning.
Ooh, that's a good point. NFTs with modding. I never thought about, you know, like there's modding in video games and stuff, but then NFTs with modding, that's a kind of an interesting concept. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Give some more value to having the NFT and like having the ability to play in these game modes. It'll also, I think that'd be really fun. I'm curious of the back end implications of that, you know, on their end. Like, what all would that look like? How well within their means is that or not? But that's like, dude, my mind's just kind of blown right now, because there's so many things I haven't considered that, like you were saying, like 3v3 versus 3 or 5v5. That sounds like it'd be blast.
Well, that's like a Minecraft, Fortnite kind of level, like where you can do stuff like that. Like that's way too ahead, man. I think we should be focusing on making the game more enjoyable at the moment.
Well, the play to earn is solid. I love the competitive nature of spider tanks. I just think there needs to be more for people that aren't competitive. Like, a lot of people are going to join the game, and they're going to do the competitive aspect for, you know, an hour a day, 2 hours a day, and then be done, and there's nothing, you know, casual. But if you leverage the community to make content, it would get them involved. It would get them invested even more. People get really attached to creating things, and that's how Dota was even born. That's how MOBAs were born, is through modding.
It's a really good point. I mean, I would love to see it. I'd love to see anything like that. So I'm all for it. I'll definitely like push for that. Like, you know, like the actual like I know what you're saying. Like there's a difference between like mutators and like the type of modding you're talking about, where you can like turn your tank into like a taco truck or something, or like, you know, somebody made a Spider Tanks racing game, you know, essentially like kind of like getting access to some of the source code so that you can build similar things on top of the game that make it even more fun. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's for it. I'm definitely gonna remember that and keep talking about it, because that sounds like a blast. But that's what I'm saying. I don't even know where to start on, like, it would definitely be a big coordinated effort if that came through. Like, it would have to be like a high priority task, because I can only imagine the back end work they're gonna have to go through to even make that possible to happen. But we're approaching an hour 20 on this roundtable. I feel like we've definitely talked about a lot, and I appreciate Timbo kind of just summarizing. But like, yeah, I think we kind of have our answers here, right? We have our two target audiences, how we're going to reach them, and what they both need is slightly different. I will give the audience, I'll give you guys another chance to raise your hand, come up and say some closing thoughts, and I'm going to open it up to General Soto and Even Wave, and just kind of like give you guys one more opportunity.
You wouldn't have the chance to say your opinion about the new announcement, like, without considering like new players? Like,
we can get into that. So another way we can consider this is not how this only affects, you know, new players and new supporters, but, you know, how did this affect you? Because, you know, we're not new players for the most part. I think everyone in here isn't a new player, right? So you're going to have a different opinion with a different context, right, that you are viewing this from, than just trying to view it from what is best for the player base, right? Because we're kind of like looking at this as the core community, like what's best for the community. Like, we know we need new players, so we're kind of like not parents, but we're just kind of like viewing this and like seeing what's best for the community. What's our place in it? Where do we fit in? Do we need to just kind of like bite the bullet for a little bit, or can we kind of partake in this as though what's best for us too? I don't know. But one thing that I did find is I found a Twitter thread that was talking about this idea that these games sold assets for a very high price in the bull market, and now they're struggling to create sustainable economies, or so they need to cater to newcomers, or they need to honor this relationship to the early supporters who bought really high in the bull market. So is that a false dichotomy that the project company has to divert their attention to either honoring the new members or honoring the original supporters, or catering to new members to make it sustainable? I think it probably is a false dichotomy. I think it's more nuanced than that, clearly. But, you know, I think a common theme here is like, is the community, do they feel heard? Do they feel respected with the way information is presented? And was it gentle? Was it communicated, you know, comprehensively to satisfy all their questions, or did it leave room for speculation? You know, I think these are all things that also like are important we need to talk about. So thank you for catching that. But I'll let you guys go ahead, and panel, you guys can open this one up, and just feel free to speak after one another. And then we're going to get our audience back in here and let you guys voice your opinions on this as well, because I know you guys are going to have some thoughts as well.
Okay. I want to start with this. I mean, like Timbo say, right? Like, it's probably a good thing. Like, even Guns agree with this. Like, Deadly, like they say, it's a good thing for, I mean, just for the game in general to grow. But I just feel like it's the way that it was announced, right? Like we're on Discord like every day. We're always supporting the game. Like, we spend all of our silk in the game. Like, we grind like no other ones. Like there's some people here that play like 8-10 hours a day. Like, that's an insane amount of time. And and then we just get like an announcement like that, right? Like yeah, we're gonna get cut by 80%, man. Like, what are you gonna do? Go cry about it? Like, go say something on Discord, and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, why are you talking shit? Like everyone's just like, I don't know. Like, I feel like we're not understood of. Like we make huge sacrifices, right? Like playing the game, like our savings, like we work for this money, right? Like we just frustrating because we give. I mean, we do believe in this. That's the whole point, right? Like, I just want to put it in perspective. Like, I played League of Legends and Fortnite for 10 years, and I spent 10 times as much that I did on those games in Gala in 6 months. So I really believe in this project. Like, I put all my savings, and then we just get treated like that. Like, I feel like I don't know. I don't know.
I hear you, Soto, and it reminds me of this leadership quote that I think laterally applies here. Not like specifically, because the specifics are actually. The quote says, "You can't force someone to give you their best effort. You can only convince them to offer it." And like, that's in the terms of like leadership, right? People are working for you, but really what it is you want the support of your people that are working for you, or in this case, you just want the favor of the community, right? Community sentiment is huge in the play to earn field, the NFT field, and crypto. Community sentiment is everything, right? So you can't force people to favor you, to support you, but you can convince them to volunteer it, right? And I think that just comes from, like you said, maybe this was presented. Like, did it resonate with you that it was presented? Like, you wish it was more, I don't know.
It felt like we're not part of it, like, of those decisions. Like,
mm-hmm.
Like, it just feels like it's all based on analytics, like whatever the stats show, whatever data they're collecting. Like,
mm-hmm.
You have guild owners here, man. Like really smart people. Like, it seems like they also were like really surprised. Like, I would have imagined that they wouldn't know what's going on, like being part of like the Gala inner circle, because they are the ones who like really helped shape this, and it seems like everyone was like completely surprised. So I don't know, like, is the community like really respected, or is it's just a data kind of game where you just trying different strategies and see what works?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think data is obviously supporting, these announcements, right? Like, they're not just all willy-nilly, like, let's try out new changes because those will be fun. Like, this is calculated stuff, right? There's a team working on this this is their job. They're crushing. They're going to try to crush it. They're giving their best effort. And what is that data? How does it support the case? And I think similarly to my reference with professional baseball, is it can be convinced. Like, I will buy into it. I just need to be convinced. And that's kind of like my stance, is I totally want what's best, and I will give my support, when I'm convinced to volunteer it, to reference that quote. But I appreciate that, Soto. Do you have anything else before we kick it off to one of our other guys and then move on to the audience?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Glad you got that off your chest, brother. Who's up next? Even Wave or the General?
I can go. It's cool. So
That's
everyone
cool.
who shared their piece, give you the more or less same angle. I played this game for 14 hours straight, streamed it with more or less the same guys that are here on panel, because it was fun. Today, the game is not fun. These economy changes will change nothing to the gameplay. Gameplay is broken. People don't enjoy. You can ask every single one of here, do you enjoy? You don't enjoy the game. People play it because they are heavily invested in it. Maybe you will play it 5% because you like the game. The 95% will play the game, because you bought in. That being said, this is like redistributing the wealth inside of the economy. And as Timbo said, you can say it's sustainable economy, because the economy is not sustainable if you constrain it so much that people, it's like Web 2.5. because, for example, for me personally, it's not even profitable to extract any of silk, and I have legendary, which is on 28 level, and I got now hit with minus 40% of my earnings, and I don't mind sharing it, but I think they should have implemented, put the, if I see this amount of effort putting into economy, I think the whole focus should be put into gameplay, because without good gameplay, the economy is irrelevant. It will not be played. And as Gonzo said, in third world country, people will play it. In my opinion, it's really hard to do that because we can't even move out the silk. People from the third world countries, they want to play the game to earn, to live from it. And if you have like constriction that you can only export like 2 silk, it's not sustainable. And I think that is not the target that we need. We need people who are gamers, who want to play. For example, I think more or less every one of us enjoyed the game before it was released in beta. And I think if you ask anyone on the panel or from the audience, I played with all of them more or less. And we had so much fun, playing in the team, especially if you are in the comms, speaking with people. So I think they should just put the focus on the gameplay, make it fun, make it, enjoyable. That would be it from me. And I would just say, I agree 100% with Evenwave that Hendrickson is the guy who should be like the bridge between game media and like us community, because his social skills are really good, and he's also good in the game. So he gets the both perspectives. He knows the people, he knows what the sentiment is. He plays the game so he can give like even feedback. Okay, I can see this. So in my book, that would be huge bonus for both Gala and game media. That would be it from me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, sorry, just real quickly, I just want to kind of summarize. One thing I heard is, we're kind of talking about these objectives of like bringing on a large amount of members that Gonzo referenced, and just also handicapping, or not handicapping, or just having a tight hold on the economy to ensure that it is sustainable. And then the implications of that, it is interesting. You talk about maybe it is best to focus on the core gameplay, because the economy doesn't matter if the game's broken. I think these are a great way to view it, and I'm sure we could hear someone come in with the exact opposite perspective as well, and just reason it out that no, we need to focus on the economy if we want esports to come through. Like we kind of got started there earlier in the conversation, so it is. I'm glad we got exposed to kind of two sides of this. But I do appreciate your thoughts and opinions there, guys, and I know that was insightful. Wave, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I'll try to be brief. My closing thoughts. I think we're all kind of just waiting on the build, and really, it's kind of painful to say this, but because I guess I've been saying it for almost a year and a half now, but because I've been waiting on the build for like a year and a half now, but I've always kind of withheld my judgment, my overall judgment of the game, because I know that they're building stuff, they're working on stuff, but I've always withheld my overall judgment until the build is released, and they sort of like release it and they stand behind it and they go, okay, here it is. Like, this is what we've been talking about. And until we get to that point, I've never really been too critical about spider tanks, just because they've never really said like this is the one we stand behind. It's always, hey, we're getting there. So I hope that build is coming soon. Like I want to see it. I've been waiting on it for like a year and a half now. I want to see it so bad. But yeah, when that build gets here, that's when I'll like release my judgment on stuff. I hope that Brambler and reactive plating are nerfed in it, because I don't know. That's really about the only things that I feel strongly about. I like where the direction of everything else is headed. I hope that we're able to acquire the new users. Obviously, we need that, and I mean, hopefully we get that new build soon.
I think that's a good summary. It's a good way to view it. I think it's reasonable. It's got some distance, but yeah, I'm sure we all can't wait. Like, I know everyone in here is excited for more options in game. And like Grindcore was referencing earlier, just like the play to earn is great. It's just that we're also wanting like a little bit more, right? So I know things are going to be a lot different. But let's go ahead and get Death Ripsaw up here, and we'll end with Death Ripsaw and Grindcore, give them an opportunity to speak, and then this event is fastly approaching 2 hours, but it's been a great conversation. So this is going well.
Yo, thanks for the chance to speak again.
No problems.
I gotta say that talk from Timbo really hit me right in the feels, because it's obvious he cares. And one of the things that I really feel like this new change has really highlighted is that when it comes to, you know, these models, they're very limited in what they can do to try to get user acquisition, or at least they need to try harder, I guess, because one of the things is there's a lot of different ways that you can get new users. Advertising, you know, like referral programs, you know, like infinite different things. And one of the things that you don't want to do, though, is you don't want to piss off the community or betray the community. And Timbo is obviously one of the model community members that has been incredibly supportive and has invested quite a bit and built a guild around the game. And to hear him say those things is just really discouraging, even though it's exactly how I would mirror my own sentiments. And it just, I don't know, I just feel like there's just better ways that they could have done this. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to completely destroy the earnings of you know, the backers that they've like repeatedly told us that they're going to, you know, like appreciate, you know, just so you can, you know, like incentivize new players. Like, there's got to be other incentives, you know. The way I look at it is that Gala and Game Media are taking a hit because they're taking the 30% of silk that they themselves are supposed to get, and they're redistributing it into the prize pool. And I kind of look at this almost as them like doing the same to us as ancient owners. They're like, okay, we're gonna take, you know, this incentive that we got, since we're getting less, you'll get less too. And the people that were getting nothing, like, okay, we'll throw you a bone. But at the end of the day, I don't really see how this is gonna help with player like acquisition as much as many other ideas that they could have implemented. And I fear that at the end of the day, the community members that are supporting the game now, especially people like Timbo, are the people that you want to be the most faithful to. And that's one of the things the Axie community has done such a good job of doing. They bent over backwards to try to appease community members that have been supportive. And, you know, we're all in this together. Like, in Web3, we have ownership of our assets. So we're working as a team. We're trying to help them. The worst thing they can do is piss us off. Like, I had Dakful, one of the Korean guild members, messaging me yesterday when he got timed out in chat, saying he was done with spider tanks, that he was frustrated. You know, he came in and trying to voice his concerns, and they just time him out. And I'm just like, dude, this is not how you should treat people, man. So I just hope that going forward, you know, like, this frustration isn't just looked at as something that, you know, is just a bunch of people crying because they're getting less earnings. It's actually going to be honest feedback, and that's why I think it's really cool what Timbo did when he actually wrote out his thoughts. And I hope that more people come forward in organized ways that they'll listen to us instead of calling us howler monkeys that are just throwing poo. I thought that was very disrespectful by Bitbender, and it's really disappointing. Anyways, that's all I gotta say.
Same, dude. Same, because he replied it to me. Even though I was like literally talking shit.
I mean, we can do better.
And that's what I really want this roundtable to be. Is I want it to be an opportunity for, you know, the community to really share, you know, their honest and truthful opinions, because the reality is in tolerating, you know, hurtful stuff, or, you know, I get there's a point whenever you cross a line, and you should get timed out, not banned, but timed out, right? but voicing, true just like concern and, not having had information to, have the opportunity to be convinced otherwise, I want to give you guys a chance to, like, we all say things that, we may not, hold true of us, in 5 days, right? Even Wave said he had a knee-jerk reaction to this initially, and I feel like a lot of us did, right? Just the way it was presented, it was just boom, there it was, and it was such big news, right? And it was just a matter of fact. I think it kind of lended us to having that knee-jerk reaction, and I feel bad for all the guys who saw that and were having a shitty day, and their first thing was to go say some stuff in the Discord and get timed out. But I want this to be an opportunity for us to have a space to say something that you might disagree with in a week, right? Like, that's really like dealing with your shit and like thinking through it. If you don't allow yourself to venture into how you really feel, like, you're just holding yourself back because you're not in the moment, right? I want people, I know emotions are strong, and a lot of people here are passionate about this game, and I want to feed that passion, and I want to feed that emotion. And so this is what this place is for. Is I said in the Gala chat that there's no banhammer here tonight, and that's true. Like, if you guys come in and are super heated or just have a strong opinion about something, like, I want to give you a space to say that, but also just hold the respect for other people at the same time as well. And just in person, you can relate to people just a little bit different than you can over text. It's easy to always assume the worst in text when you don't have the nuance of, dictation. But let's get Grindcore up here. Toxic Core on stage.
Hi. So, with the new changes that have been announced, I guess the part that I'm just really disappointed about is the value that we originally thought we were getting is just constantly shifting around, and I think that the announcement lacking any shift of value for us is very concerning, because at this point it almost seems like we've gotten our value. Like, this is we gave you enough, and what you got is what you got. And it would have shown so much more awareness if they would have accompanied the announcement with a value shift for ancient and legendary owners. Like, okay, you guys are losing value here, but we'll give you value here. I don't understand why they couldn't come drum something up, tell us future tourneys or events there'll be special prizes for ancients. Just come up with some replacement value for the value we're losing. I understand that, like, commons and uncommons, they need to earn more, and there's not enough incentive for them. It's too expensive to upgrade. That makes sense to me. It just the lack of an accompanied value with the shift of value for which we previously thought we were getting with what we were paying for. That's my main problem.
Yeah, this, it's just so interesting. This is such a new space, and, like, really refraining from using the word investor here. Asset holders, was there an agreement? What was the value that was expected, and does it match with, like, what you're getting? And then somehow holding, in the other hand, the economy of the game and keeping the value of whatever you own by the game succeeding and flourishing in the next couple of years. And how does that factor into this? It's just like an incredibly dynamic and complex just thing to think through. Anyone, Jay Soto, Kaizen, Even Wave? You guys got some thoughts on?
I think Gonzo raised his hand.
All right. Well, we are almost, we're like 10 minutes away from being at 2 hours, and I definitely want to keep the quality of this conversation as high as we can. I know General's been up for, like, I don't know, probably like 36 hours now.
Sleep is for weak.
I definitely. What'd you say?
Sleep is for weak, I say.
Yeah, I can still go for another 2 hours.
You guys are different breeds. I have to get my sleep, but We'll definitely, let's see if I can get Gonzo up here real quick. If you don't mind, Gonzo, keeping it brief, but I definitely want to give you a chance to say what you got on your mind before we close this thing up nice and tidy. Yes.
It's about strategy. It's like, you know, ancient guys, you're taking a haircut. I get it, as a legendary too. But if you take profits from like 2 or 3 days of winnings and you get a rare and you build that up to a 30, between your ancient and your legendary in 10 games, you'll make way more VP. You know what I mean? So just get a second tank, get a third tank to play, and you do 5 wins or 5, if everybody's 50-50. Usually the 2.5 wins VP is more than you'll make. Like, you just totally multiply your earnings. So just as like a strategy idea for anybody with tanks that has like higher rarities, invest in some lower rarities and level those up, and you play 5-6 games with them, you're gonna make a lot more VP. Just advice to anybody that is like a little bit upset about not like taking haircuts. You can make up for it by getting lower rarity tanks and playing fewer games with them, but making way more VP. General strategy idea, anyways. That's it.
This is the thing that I wanted Gonzo to tell everybody. he told me, and I was like, it's the first numbers that I've seen so far were Gonzo's, because I've been so tired the past 2 nights. I haven't been able to dive into it. I'm gonna dive into it hopefully tomorrow, and like really just kind of try to wrap my head around how it's all going to play out. There's still a lot of unknowns, a lot of variables, and that's what I'm waiting on to see before I really even like try to make a judgment call of whether I think this is a good thing or a bad thing for the VP onboarding. But I mean, even like some early testing that the Gonzo's done, it sounds like there are ways to make at least like kind of like what you're earning, if not more. So I'm curious to see if you know, once we actually see the numbers, like if it really is going to be that much of a haircut or not, or how bad it's going to be.
Yeah, the community is very much still processing, you know, this information and figuring out what is the best like course of action to respond. And you know, Gonzo's already on that. I know he's quick to come up with this, but I'm very excited to see, you know, what the community, how they respond. You know, I think we're resilient. A large portion of us are all like growth mindset as well. You know, how we're going to make lemonade out of these lemons that we're given, you know, and there's a lot of things that go into this that are, you know, interdependent on one another to get where we're at. So it's incredibly complex. But Jay Soto, I'll let you go ahead and give a closing statement and just kind of give you one last opportunity to speak before.
I mean, I just want to thank everyone for listening to my complaints. I know I complain a lot, but at the end of the day, like, I really love the game. That's why I'm here. I really value my time. So like, literally me spending time playing the game and doing all of this, like, it is because I truly care about this. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. In general, I'll let you go ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, this happens because the only reason why we play spider tanks right now is earnings. That's what I'm saying. Grindcore laid it really well. Put some more content, get better gameplay, so that we can have, even Timbo mentioned it with the daily pass, season pass, you know, something that we can grind, you know. And when you just cut us the earning part, of course you will get this kind of reaction. Mm-hmm. And I would appreciate, and I appreciate every single one of you who joined us, everyone who will watch this sometimes in the future. And that would be it for today from me.
Dude, I appreciate it, and I also would like to, you know, follow suit with these guys and thank every one of you guys who have been here. I think, you know, we all can agree that an informed community is definitely more powerful, and you know, the more that we can, you know, use each other as a resource to, you know, refine our view of things and to, you know, continue to level up our understanding of this game. Like, the community is, you know, a large part about this game and the community sentiment, and you know, take an opportunity to not get on the same page, but kind of like get on the same page about some things and start to reason out and to think through these topics is massive. So I just want to extend a huge thank you to everyone that's here for taking the 2 hours out of your day to hang out with us and to chat about spider tanks. I know we got a lot of people who are extremely passionate about this, so I know we all value your time and look forward to seeing you guys on the battlefield. But yeah, I think we're good to end this. If you want to rewatch this in the future, I believe Jay Soto and Kaizen are streaming this, so you can find it on their YouTubes. And you could also, if there's a specific bit you want to like clip the part where you asked a question, like you can totally do that. It's super easy on YouTube. So if you want to send that to somebody, reference it in a conversation, we can try to use this as much of a resource as we can, because there was just so many, differing ideas thrown around that at least challenged me to think about things differently, and hope it was the same for you guys. So keep an eye out for the next MAF Roundtable. We'll continue to have these as long as you guys keep showing up, and I look forward to the next one. So again, thank you all for being here, and I hope you have a good night or a good day wherever you guys are in the world, and peace, everybody.